Hey! Can everyone be quiet?
Oh, I forgot.
Okay, I'm about to start recording. Everything's gonna be included. Everything you guys do is gonna be in the show. Elijah, stop! Hi everyone and welcome to the show. Today's episode is Katryn Whitaker is on. Her and her lovely family came over our house, in our house, here, where we eat our food, where we have our kids. Katryn Whitaker came on the show. It was awesome, really great conversation. Hey!
Dominic.
Quiet down!
Why
I love my children. She wrote an upcoming book with Ave Maria Press called Live Big, Love Bigger, and we have a wonderful conversation. But today, the show is brought to you by patreon.com, patreon.com/the show. You can help support the show, help make the show better, help just make it amazing, help support the creative team that's backing the show and putting out all sorts of awesome content. The show is also brought to you by merch at theshow.threadless.com, where you'll be able to find stuff like this custom design, like Topo Chico spin merch of the show, throw pillows and t-shirts and stuff like that. We're also looking for other sponsors. If you own a small business or website or online store or something like that, reach out to us. We have lots of sponsorship opportunities. We're looking to partner with some businesses and do some, opening ad rolls like this. Hey! So without further ado, here's the episode of the show with Katryn Whitaker. Also, you can watch the show on our Facebook page if you go to facebook.com/the show with Edmund Mitchell, which is long, but you'll find it. You can also find, you can also find the rest of the video of the show. Well, you can find the full episode of the show at youtube.com/Edmund Mitchell. You'll be able to find it there. We're working on getting a separate YouTube channel for the show. But anyways, as always, thank you so much. Oh, and you can leave us a voicemail to be on the big show, which is coming up. We're going to be recording that soon. Send us a voicemail, and you'll be on the big show. Ask us a question. Tell us about something. Go away. You can call in at 817-527-1423. And that's it. I got to go eat dinner, but hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I really enjoyed it, and hope you do as well. Let me know somewhere in the comments, and take care. Bye.
You staying home tonight?
I hadn't planned on it, no.
Plan on it.
Minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
You're gonna die.
I'm Raymond Arroyo. We'll see you next time.
different.
Just go
Camera
over the top.
one. Camera
Let's
two.
open these Topo Chicos.
Okay.
He brought this wonderful opener. Oh, and it has Benedict and JP2 on it.
Yeah, it's legit.
That is awesome. So you're a huge Topo Chico fan too.
I am. Sometimes we'll put lime in it.
Oh, that's good.
That's a lot in
I
it.
should have gotten some limes.
It's all right.
It's okay.
I'll bring those next time.
Well, thank you, Katryn,
All right.
for being on.
Of course.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Do you like look at our logo? Someone drew that.
Oh.
Someone drew the.
Here.
Yeah, someone drew
What
the.
you need is you need a picture of that.
Yeah, someone drew the.
I like it.
I didn't realize I talked about Topo Chico so much, but now it's more like
Oh no, I'm a fan.
like a conscious thing.
I like it.
But when one of our friends, Laura Cohen, she drew that, and I was like, okay, I think it's getting to the point where it needs to be like a consistent thing. It's in every episode now at this point.
Well, because it's very, I don't know. It's sort of is it a Southern thing? Is it a Texas thing? I mean,
Yeah.
I know it's a Mexico thing.
Yeah, I think it. Well, I mean, it's from Monterey, is like where the water source is, I guess.
I like
But yeah,
it,
I
though.
think some company in Texas like started the
I
whole
have a
thing.
cocktail beverage that, like a recipe for. I need to find that and send that to you.
What kind of cocktail?
Oh, it's got hard liquor in it.
Okay.
But
What kind of hard liquor?
Vodka, but I can't remember what else.
Like a vodka tonic?
I think that's right.
Also,
it's got
there's
some lime in it.
Yeah.
It's real good.
Or like a ginger beer thing would be really good.
Let me find that. For
Yeah.
you.
Oof, like a Moscow
Put that in
Mule.
the show notes.
Okay, we'll follow up on that later and put that in the show
People will be
notes.
super impressed with our interview.
Well, thank you so much for this.
No, you're welcome.
So this
Straight
says
from Rome.
Benedict and JP2, and it was blessed by John Paul II
It was blessed.
or Benedict.
It would have to be blessed by Benedict
Yeah.
if he's on there. Yes, it was blessed by Pope
Oh,
Benedict.
that's awesome. That's really
We
cool.
were over there in 2009.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks for coming. For those of you who are watching at home, like we're literally just in here and all of our kids, which how many kids total is that?
11.
That's 11 kids are all outside just enjoying the beautiful day.
Drinking sweet tea and
Yeah.
no one's arguing. So that's a that's
No one's
a win.
arguing yet. We're just going to stay in here until someone starts
Yeah.
screaming.
Until they start banging on.
And then we'll be like,
windows.
all right, thank you for the show. that was the
And
show.
Now we're done.
So how did we connect? I think we connected on Instagram.
We did.
Yeah. You've
It's
been
Bonnie's
like,
fault.
yes, that's
You
right.
can blame it on Bonnie.
Bonnie's the best. I really like Bonnie.
She really is.
And then I think we connect on there, and you've just been very nice and supportive about the show, which
No,
I need that.
I like what you do because I think it's real.
Yeah, it's very real, as you can see.
Really real. No,
Kathryn got to see. It was really insecure. I was a little insecure because Kathryn's seeing how I'm setting up everything and
No, it's
freaking
awesome.
out. Like, is everything
he's
fine?
legit. He's very professional. No, I like your sense of humor, and I like how you approach evangelization, and I like what you talk about. I like your style. I think it's cool.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming out. And partially why we talked about you coming was this book here.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about this book a little bit?
So it's about being authentic.
Yeah.
So the whole
Pretty
premise.
cool cover here.
I know it's a very thin book.
This like when I did the Blessed is She, like,
Yes.
oh, they sent me the copy. Look,
Yes.
here's the copy Kathryn brought me.
This is Edmund's pre-advance.
Yeah. Live big, love bigger.
Live big, love bigger. And the tagline is getting real with barbecue, sweet tea, and a whole lot of Jesus.
Nice.
So my whole premise of the book is saying no to the things that don't matter so that you can say hell yes to the things that do,
I like
namely
that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So living authentically, living with intention. And I'm very real in that book. I share
Yeah.
some good things and some hard things. But really the premise of what started it was we have our fifth kiddo, Luke, was born premature.
Mm-hmm.
And so Luke taught us a whole lot of lessons. And so I tell what many of those lessons are. I think
Nice.
he has many more to teach us, but there's a lot in there.
That was through Ave Maria.
Yes.
Did you always think that you would write a Catholic book for Ave Maria? Like, give
No.
people context for people who don't know you, because you've been blogging and stuff online, and I'm kind of aware of like the Catholic women's. That's kind of like my group online, to
Your
be
group?
honest. That's kind of like the group I've found.
Hey, we're a welcoming, happy group.
Yeah,
You
but
should-
like Bonnie and Jenna from Blessed is She and some of those women are.
Right.
But anyways, for people who might not be aware, like, give people some of your background or your context.
Yeah, so Catholic book not on the radar. So I grew up as an evangelical Protestant, like
Where
hands
at?
in the air. Which churches?
Well, like in Texas, right?
In Texas,
Yeah.
definitely from Texas.
Yeah.
In case you
Where,
couldn't tell.
where in Texas?
So from the Panhandle.
Okay,
So
okay.
if people know where Amarillo is, so top part,
Okay.
hour north,
Okay, cool.
way up there. So grew up evangelical Protestant, and then went to college at Texas A&M, and met this really cute boy in a military uniform who had blue eyes, who happened to be Catholic.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, why not?
And that was it? That was like, why not be Catholic?
Yeah.
Wow.
actually.
Wow. Was he really involved in his faith at the time, or was he
Actually,
born?
he wasn't really going to church.
Yeah.
But
So was
his
Scott.
Protestant girlfriend said, hey, what's all this Catholic stuff about? And so he started going. And so then I started going more than he did. And then I had a really good friend in college
Yeah.
who was also Catholic. And I don't know, I was always fascinated with the liturgy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I really dug. And
Was that partially because you didn't have, like, in the evangelical church, did you have much of a liturgy at the service, or was it like, what was it about it?
Some of them we did. So like Baptist, Methodist, Nazarene, Disciples of Christ, and non-denominational Bible churches are kind of my background. But in the Disciples of Christ church, we had similar, like we sang the doxology, we had communion, not what Catholics believe, but we had communion. My parents were what we would consider in our church like deacons. So
Yeah.
they were administrators of the Eucharist or of communion. And so the structure of that, like we had a reading. So some of that was similar.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the last church before I went to college that I was a part of.
Yeah.
And then non-denominational Bible churches. So, but I think I loved that it was the same. Like I could go wherever, and the only thing that would be different would be what the priest, how he delivered his homily.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were going to talk about the same scripture. I mean, his interpretation may be slightly different, but I liked that there was a rhythm. Like it felt easy to be there. Like I didn't feel like I was stressed about what was coming next because I knew what was coming next.
Yeah,
the only
that's
thing I was
interesting.
stressed about is kneeling
yeah,
and
when
standing
to-
because I was afraid that everyone was like, oh, she's new. She doesn't know. She's not part of our people yet. So that was the only thing that really freaked me out about going to Mass.
There's so many people at Mass, though, just for people who are interested. I encourage people to like check it out, but it's hard to just like show up as like a non-Catholic and just like walk into mass.
Like, where's the pamphlet that says you're new to a Catholic mass? Here's the things that
We're
you should do.
we're not traditionally that great. Like normally a lot of times I joke that the first contact when you walk into a Catholic church and you've never been to one is someone silently pointing at you and going 1 or 2, 1, 2. Okay, come here, sit down over here, and just ushering, and that's it. That's it. Whereas like
bride or groom.
Yeah. Yeah. Although our Protestant brothers and sisters have a much better, like I think as soon as you decide in your home that you want to go to a Protestant church, they immediately show up at your door and they usher you all the way down.
I mean, they have, and I think that's what I missed the most.
Yeah.
Is that in all of our Protestant churches, because there was a while, probably my freshman year, 8th grade year, we really were struggling with finding a church. So we would just drive down the street on Sunday morning. My dad would be like, I don't know. What do you think about that one? We're like, that looks cool. So then we go to that church for a couple of weeks, and then we go to a different church for a couple of weeks. But they were always they knew immediately. Of course, we were from a small town, but they knew immediately that we were new.
Yeah.
And they welcomed us in, and I didn't feel like a stranger. So actually I have a couple of kids who are hospitality ministers now. And my number one charge to them is make people feel like they're seen.
Yeah. Can you imagine if a Catholic church had the Catholic liturgy, but then just everything outside the building was as hospitable and welcoming as some of those Protestant churches? It would be crazy. It'd be so awesome.
Well, that's why I would say I'm immensely grateful for growing up Protestant, and I'm immensely grateful for being Catholic now. So I think I got the best of both worlds. So I'm grateful for that.
What's your journey been like throughout all that process of, I guess, just like your personal relationship with God throughout that process of converting, and then like you and your husband, because you said your husband wasn't going to church often, but you guys are pretty.
Now he works for the church.
Yeah.
He's legit.
Okay, what does he do right now?
So he's the money man. So he's the stewardship and development director.
Oh, sweet.
For Kassie.
Oh, cool.
So he asks people for money every day and loves it. I think
because you guys seem pretty. I mean, within like a few minutes of you guys even being here, your kids were talking about the readings from Mass today or something. They were like,
wow,
"Isn't that in the readings?" Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, I was like, "Man,
it's
wow,
clearly superior
these kids."
parenting. It's clearly we're doing it right now. Wow.
But what's been your journey of like your relationship with the Lord throughout? Were you pretty devout in your faith as a kid, and then you said you weren't going to church, or your boyfriend at the time wasn't going?
I should clarify. I did marry that guy.
Yeah,
he turned out being pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think for me, I always had a really great relationship with Jesus because I had an encounter with him. So I was really involved in youth groups. So my parents were, when I was young, they were Methodist Youth Fellowship, whatever. MYF. We always had those high school kids at our house. Yeah. So for me, it was always very relational. And then when I got to college, I just wanted to continue to have a relationship. For me, the Catholic part was sort of like, okay, there's the sacraments, there's the liturgy. Like it became, I don't want to say it became less personal because I still had this great relationship with Jesus, but I think for me, it was like that added extra layer that I had been looking for.
Yeah.
Because I felt like you can have a relationship with someone, but like and I don't want to say the rules, but like, where does God want to take you? It's more than just like having this warm, fuzzy relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
At least it was for me. I think you have to take it a step further. And so things like adoration, I loved. Confession, I had a little trouble with. Mary, I wasn't so sure about her. Yeah. But the more that I kind of encapsulated all that, then it became part of who I was.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I loved Jesus and I wanted him to be a part of my life. I think I was, as we got into our marriage and we kind of started to hit some crosses and trials, I think I got annoyed that, hey, Jesus, I was really good to you.
Yeah.
That sounds
Why
so
would you
bad.
do this to me? Yeah.
Wow, that sounds really narcissistic. But
but that's a natural feeling.
I
though.
was so good. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why me?
now, dude?
No, I think lots
What's
of
up?
people feel that way. Like I know many people who are like, I was doing all the right things. Why would this suffering happen?
I followed the rules, man.
Yeah.
I checked all the boxes. And then I realized that it's not about checking the boxes. You have to, being in a relationship with someone means sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not married to Scott and everything's just kittens and rainbows all the time. Right? So it's not going to be that way with Jesus.
Yeah.
If he's like the guy that made me, it can't possibly be that
Yeah.
way.
What I'm realizing as I get older is how wise the liturgy is, because it's one thing. I was kind of reverse. I grew up Catholic and was doing a lot of the external
like practices, but it was very like intellectual faith. My daughter's going to come join us in here. Hi, Kateri.
She's crawling like a boss, though.
What was I talking about?
You were talking about your faith.
This is real, guys. This is real.
Oh, you were the opposite.
So I grew up doing a lot of the externals, and then really found the more, what you would say, like it sounds more Protestant, this personal relationship with Jesus thing. And I was like, man, like I know a lot about the faith and I'm doing these things, but I'm not like growing in holiness. I'm still a schmuck on the inside. And so when I came across some Protestant friends, but also some classmates at Franciscan University who like talked about Jesus as if he was in their closet. And I'm like reading through books, like trying to figure out like, how do I do this? Like, but I just kept going to Scott Hahn books, and it was all intellectual.
That's so funny. That was the first book I read.
Really?
Rome Sweet Home.
Oh yeah. My dad bought that. We were at some talk. I don't know if Scott Hahn was there. It might've been Jeff Cavins, but we bought the book. My dad buys it and hands it to me. He's like, you should give this to your girlfriend she was Protestant, non-denominational. And I was like, okay, this seems interesting. And I start reading it on the way to the car. I sat in the car and read half of it. I don't think I ever gave it to her, but that was the beginning of.
It was really for you.
Yeah, it was something about that book and something about the way that this guy was very intellectual in his faith, but I think some of his Protestant background and just being close to the Lord, it started. I was like, man, I don't have that. And that
I forget there was. I think it was maybe. Man, I can't remember what speaker it was, but anyway, he said a lot of times you'll find Catholics who are Protestants who are grateful for their upbringing.
Yeah.
He said, but when you talk to a Catholic who left and is now Protestant, they're always bitter about their experience. And I'm like,
interesting.
So he said, what the difference is that you're missing the personal relationship with Jesus.
Yeah,
So that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And not that you have to be Protestant to have a personal relationship. I
No.
think the charge is that anybody can do that. It's not mutually exclusive to any religion. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Because what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, so what if I go to mass every week? So what if I liturgically live and have all these craft projects for my kids on saint days?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. And so I did this weird thing where to try to chase after that relationship with Jesus, I started really questioning and shedding some of these just practices that were just, honestly, a lot of them were not, I was not thinking about God as I'm doing them. I'm just doing them. And so I started shedding those throughout college. And then I get out into the world and me and my wife are living our daily lives. And you realize really quickly the wisdom of the liturgy, because when you don't have enough personal will or emotions to stir up yourself, you're kind of forced to live out this relationship with God through these practices. And I've really started learning that wisdom and like leaning on that, because when you're just waiting for yourself to stir up some type of like conviction and that emotion or like you said, it's not, that personal relationship gets really difficult. And it's really those those like moments where it's like, oh, it's on the schedule that this is what we do.
Well, it's 7:30. I guess we're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's really cool. So tell me more about the book, because the book, it really fascinates me, and a lot, it seems like it could be very broad.
Yeah, so
there's so many different things in
every
there.
chapter is sort of what we call like a universal theme. So I talk about things like authentic friendships and marriage and family vacations and body image. Like I think they're universal in the sense that we all struggle and deal with them.
Yeah.
And so through that, I typically share a little bit about what life was like before Luke, kind of leading up to that. And then Luke happened. He's our preemie. And then life completely whacked us upside the head.
Yeah.
And then what does that mean now? And the thing that I love about that is that all those, like, I didn't give birth to Luke and then 5 weeks later, like, we are all of a sudden amazing people.
Yeah.
His lessons have continued to uncover themselves. He'll be 10 this September. So, but I tend to be, in case you haven't noticed, I tend to be a little sassy. And so I was grateful that Ave let me be myself.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which makes me love them even more as a publisher. So I do talk about some hard things in there, but I also am a little sassy. I talk a lot about George Strait and my cowboy boots. And I talk about going on this. So we went on a 10-month barbecue pilgrimage around the state of Texas.
Wow.
And we visited all 50 of the top 50 barbecue joints by
Really?
Texas Monthly. I know that makes it sound crazy.
That's amazing.
With all the kids.
So I almost had enough time to go get some barbecue and bring it here, but I didn't. But there's a place near us called Meet You Anywhere. You guys will have to get it for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
have to check
really
that
good.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we drove 2,000 miles, took 10 months, and we went to all these barbecue places. But along the way, we did some really cool Catholic stuff, some really cool ways to engage our kids in the faith. And
Was this before or after Luke?
Oh, way after. This was just about a year and a half ago.
And was this like, were you like, was this when you started writing online? Were you like were you cataloging this or documenting this or anything?
So I've been blogging for about 12 years.
Yeah, nice.
So, but
nice.
I don't think I really blog. I mean, maybe Insta storied, so microblogged.
Yeah.
But I didn't really blog about it. I did at the very end, like say, hey, here's all the places that we went, and if you want to know all the really good places and what we really loved, you can go to the blog, and I put it all out there.
Yeah.
But the book talks about a little bit more about what the intention was, like how are we vacationing? Because we live in this world where we think that you can only live an extraordinary life if you do extraordinary things, and we forget that being present to the people that we love.
Yeah.
And to the moment that's in front of us is what God asks of us. And that really amazing things can happen in the present moment.
Yeah.
Like they can't just happen in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Even though it'd be really nice if we were also there, but they happen every day.
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is talking about, is encourages people to be present. And it also encourages them to see how Jesus is working in their life. Because I think we mistakenly think that our story isn't as awesome as someone else's story.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I hear people a lot say, well, I don't really have this crazy conversion story where I woke up covered in Coke and blood, and that's when I knew, right? And people
Not many people do, though.
people get really insecure about that. And my story is not. I mean, it sounds kind of boring. It's like I always knew about God and I loved God, but then I learned how to love Him better throughout my life. And
but I bet that if you peeled away some of the layers of your story, that you would have extraordinary moments in every
oh
day.
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
For sure. But from the outside,
Sure.
it would be like I was in this boring situation and then this kind of internal thing happened. And I think a lot of times I have to remind myself that there are people that have those stories too, that need to hear the witness of how to live your life where you've always kind of loved God and then you start loving Him more,
Yeah.
Man, there's something you said that sounded so good as a place for us to keep talking, but now I'm drawing a blank. I forget what we were going to talk about.
Barbecue.
What?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
I don't know what we were talking about.
Man, what were we going? There's something about that. But anyways, the thing, Luke, you said that like Luke being born was this huge turning point.
Yes.
And what was like the biggest change is what I'm interested in, because you were saying like your family really changed after that.
Yeah. I think for us, we became a lot more willing to live on the wild side. And what I mean by that is that I had a very polite relationship with Jesus. Like, yes, Father, no, Father. Like it was very polite.
Yes, sir.
We were kind. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That we were kind. And it got really real. Like when your son and the doctors aren't sure if he's going to make it through the night, not to give away too much in there, but you start to say, okay, so now it got really real.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to let him into the places that I had closely guarded, that I wasn't willing to let Jesus into, because I had things, I'm a type A, like I have things under control, Jesus, here's my plan. And our plan like completely got turned upside down. And I think that's when I was willing to give him control of the things that I had held pretty tight.
Yeah.
Although people joke, they laugh when I say, but I held pretty tightly to my fertility. I mean, at that time, Luke was the 5th kid, but all the kids had come on our schedule.
Yeah.
And about 4 years after Luke, we gave birth to our 6th baby. And Edmund, some of the things that people would tell us, like, didn't you learn your lesson with Luke? And I'm like, but this was a total leap of faith.
Gosh.
And I share how we got to that point. And it's a really stunning, beautiful story. It's one of my favorite God moments.
Yeah.
And
so why were people saying, I don't know a whole lot about preemie babies.
So he spent about 44 days in the NICU. And
well, but is there a danger that then subsequent children would also be preemies?
So I think that's what people were thinking. Like, y'all went through hell and back with him. Why would you open yourselves up to that again?
Yeah, that's so unfortunate.
And I'm like,
that they said that.
Faith.
Yeah.
I mean, and the conversations that he allowed us to have. So we had this picture of St. Therese in his hospital room.
Yeah.
And I lost count of the number of nurses, janitors, doctors, whoever would walk in and say, is that St. Therese? And then we would start to have this beautiful conversation about the witness of her life and, how we practice. Like, I think someone came in one day and they're like, is your husband a priest? I was like, well, I mean, technically he cannot be. It's okay. We'll talk about that in a second. But it was so great, the doors that he opened and the conversations that I'm now willing to have with people. And the things that I'm willing to do, I would never have done before Luke.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I think for me, the transformation feels massive. Maybe for those looking outside, they can see, little changes here and there. But for me, it was a massive transformation.
Yeah. Have you heard Viktor Frankl wrote that book called Man's Search for Meaning?
No.
I don't think I read the whole thing, but we were supposed to read it in college. But the whole idea was that he was in the Auschwitz, I think. Oh. And he's a psychologist, and so while he's like a prisoner there, he's just trying to fill up his time, and so he starts studying informally. Why is it that some people can make it through Auschwitz and some people don't? Like some people just kind of give up. And he felt like he determined that when someone had a really strong reason or like meaning behind their suffering, they were able to stick it through. And that kind of helped me. Like there have been plenty of times I can relate a little bit. My wife and I had really, really hard first. We got married 2 weeks after we graduated college.
Okay.
So
we were 6 weeks.
Yes. So we were super young.
Yeah.
And
we're still super young.
Oh, yes. We are all very young. The camera adds, it makes it look like we're older, but we're all.
Looks bigger and we like bigger. It's fine.
But we had a really, really rough, I mean, we could not be more different people, Danielle and I. And so we just had a lot of just really dark. And then on top of all that, we moved to Toledo, Ohio, where we knew no one. And I was a youth minister trying to figure out how to do that and balance work and life. And then we got pregnant every year that we were married. And then one of the worst winters in all of the United States was in Toledo, Ohio. So we had this horrible, horrible time. And, I highly recommend marriage counseling now, like all the time.
Amen.
I'm like, please do, even if you don't feel like you have problems now, just start. It's been so huge, so huge. Oh, good.
Absolutely.
But anyways, through a lot of that and just a lot of really dark times where, I was like you're saying, I can really relate to being like, all right, Jesus, like you got it. Where are you in this? And where's the meaning behind this? But now, years later, to be talking to people and not saying that everyone should experience something horrible just so they can talk to people about it, but other marriages and being able to talk with other people who are struggling and being like, I know that that's really hard, but it can get better. Because when you're in it, it feels like this is never going to end.
Well, and people think that when you're in it, that you're doing it well.
Yeah.
Like people are like, you're handling the NICU stay so well.
Oh gosh,
and I thought, you must be on crack cocaine because we're not handling it well at all.
This is not a Lifetime movie.
No, this
is not where like
Hallmark.
The worst part is, or Hallmark movie. Yeah, this isn't one of those movies where the worst part is that I just kind of get mad and throw something across the and that's as bad as it gets.
Like this is not. This is hard.
Yeah.
But I also believe that God allows you, whether it's this big catastrophic horrible thing that happens or it's a small thing, you're going to walk into someone else's life.
Yeah.
And they're going to be experiencing that and something that you had a lesson that you learned, you're going to be able to help them get to the next station. I had a priest say one time, and I love this. So Father Uche was talking about, he became a priest and kind of felt like he was just going to change the world, right? Bring all these people to Christ. And he said, and what I finally came to realize is that I was going to get this person from this station to this station. And I prayed that someone else would pick them up at the next station.
Wow. That's cool.
And so when you stop seeing, God is God and I'm not him, that what your role is just to be present and to, if someone comes to you and you have a commonality that you can help them, maybe you don't help them all the way through it, but you help them part of the way through it.
Yeah.
And Luke allowed us, but I don't even know that I would have asked someone, hey, what's going on in your life? Like I would never have opened myself up like that, because then that means that I would have had to have been present for them.
Do you think you felt that way because you wished more people would have done that for you, or was it like you experienced people doing that when you really needed it?
I had some really amazing things happen whenever we were in the NICU. And one in particular, there's an organization called Hand to Hold. So it's based out of Austin, but they basically have mentors that kind of mentor NICU moms. But it was just starting. And so the founder had an article in the Austin American Statesman, and my nurse brought it to me. So I'm sitting in the NICU. We'd just gotten another yucky diagnosis. So she handed me, you may want to reach out. And then same day, a friend texts me, hey, Kathryn, you should reach out. And I was like, okay, I hear you, Jesus.
I got it.
And a lot of people were present for us, and people that surprised me that were present for us, and the people that I thought would be present were not present. And it's not a judgment on them. I just think they weren't ready.
Yeah. Like
I know that now.
And that's a message I think people really need to hear, is that, and I realized this too, because I was very sheltered growing up and did not have very traumatic experiences until later in life. And, people just handle stuff very like, and even me, like I thought I would be the type of person to handle traumatic situations really well. And I even shocked myself. There was close family, or my wife's brother passed away and unexpectedly. And I thought I was like, I know how to handle this. Like, this isn't someone I even knew really well. And I shocked myself with the way I handled it. Like, I was just like, man, I did not think I would handle something like this poorly. Anyways, just something I think people need to hear, that when people around you handle things poorly, like,
they just don't know.
Yeah, some people just don't know how to handle stuff like that.
And I think that allowed me to extend them grace, because I think before I felt very judging. Like, well, and then it happens to you, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So now I know. And I recognize that some people, for whatever reason, I don't know their story, couldn't be present for us. Just like sometimes I'm not able to be present for other people.
Yeah.
You have to be in a healthy place. And so knowing your boundaries is important, but also recognizing that the people that you need will be present for you. And then maybe you're helping those other people get to a place where they can be, so that they can help someone else. But it doesn't do you any good to judge where people are. I mean, you just have to say, what's my relationship with Jesus, and what is he asking of me right now? And then what's he going to ask of me tomorrow? I have no idea. I just know that right now I'm here. I have no idea what's going to happen the rest of this day. And Luke kind of allowed us to be okay with not knowing. And to be joyful for what we have in this moment, even if it's hard.
What was that like? You said you were allowing God into these really dark moments. What was that like, or what was the way? Because I know there's been times where it's been really hard for me to do that, where it's like, it's really weird. It's almost like I would just rather be left alone in this than even open up to someone about it, which sounds weird. And that was another thing that shocked me, was feeling so low at certain points in our marriage where I just didn't even want help. And I think people who haven't gone through trauma like that, or people who are going through that, they're surprised by a lot of the feelings and emotions that they have. And it's really difficult, especially when they're in the moment, to tell them like, well, just let Jesus into that moment. You know what I mean? Like, but you were saying you did, and you want to slap that person, right?
Yeah, you want to tell them to shut
up. But like, how would you, because it's such a weird, sensitive.
Well, I think
thing.
It's sort of like when you start working out. Like, and I think for a lot of us, we start working out because we want to look better, but we end up sticking it out because we feel better.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when it came to those hard things to give to Jesus, I think initially I was like, well, maybe I'll let him in. And then there would be like a small pinhole, like a breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
And I recognized that and this sounds counterintuitive, but the harder you lean into the cross, the greater the grace.
Yeah.
And we're afraid to lean into the pain because we're like, it's going to be more painful. And while it was more painful, there was also more grace. So it was like I had broken through, and I felt like this. It blew my mind. I mean, there were a few things growing up that I had a really hard time, really struggled with. And because of Luke, I was like, well, we've been through this before, so I'm going to dive in. Someone else was hurting, and I'm like, I'm going to be present for them. And I was like, even though I'm terrified to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm stubborn, because I'm Southern. And I did it, and then it like blew open. Like, I'm like, this whole part of me existed, and I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
And then you think, what else?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be more. So then you like become addicted to Jesus, and you're like, what more do you have for me?
Yeah, did that start bleeding over into other areas of your family probably, right? Or just like things that you're willing to do?
Well, in our marriage, I mean, after we went to marriage counseling, and with our kids, now that we have teenagers, God bless it. But they're super fun most of the time.
So, they're so great. Like they're so
especially great when they're not yours.
Yeah,
but they are great. They are. No, they legitimately. I always tell people, don't be afraid of teenagers because they're pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
And so those lessons allowed us to be, I think, not afraid of what the new season of parenthood was going to be like with them, or what the new season of our marriage was going to be like. And when you lean into that, I think we're afraid of pain. I mean, we want to lead these nice, polite, kind, pain-free lives.
Yeah.
And you can do that, but it's sort of like when someone's been married for 40 years and then they look at each other and they don't really know who they are. And I'm like, dude, you like, look at all those years that you could have like really been living it big and loving big and all that. And you missed it. Like, I don't want to look back on my life and be like, well, I was happy.
Yeah.
Like, but was I like engaged? Was I present? Because it's not enough to just be happy.
Yeah. It's not as exciting of a movie or a story if it's like they lived happily, like page 1 is like, they lived happily ever after the whole time.
Congratulations.
There's no like there's no sacrifice, there's no drama, there's no like we were I was reading Benedict actually, and he was saying at the point when you have nothing worth dying for, you have nothing worth living for, and I just thought, wow, that's really smart. So a lot of the book, I feel like from like reading it and hearing you talk, a lot of it is like kind of this turning outward and loving other people too.
Yes.
And so how do you have time for that?
To write a book?
No, just to love other people, right? Like I think one thing that we're dealing with too as a family is trying to figure out how to do that, how to think more than just like we got to get everyone fed and dressed and then to bed.
Wipe everyone's butt.
Yeah, but it sounds like you guys through a lot of that, kind of realizing the importance of sacrifice and being present for other people. How has that played out in you guys' family?
So you have to be really intentional. I think we had to start saying no to some really good things.
Yeah.
Because life is a series of really awesome things to say yes to. And I was feeling bad. Like as the type A, like get it all done kind of mom, I was like, oh, we can totally do all this.
Are your kids in school? Like what, public school, homeschool, private school?
Catholic school.
Okay.
And so we've got, right now we have 2 in high school, 2 in middle school, 1 in elementary school, 1 in preschool.
Dang.
Big and wide. So
do you just every morning you just call like 4 different Ubers and you just let them all?
The great thing is that the 3rd through 12th grader, the schools are across the street. So I pull up,
that's nice.
Open the van doors and everyone gets out, and then I'll carpool for preschool.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so what were we talking
saying
about?
no,
how do I love bigger?
And saying no to things. I think that's a huge.
When you have 6 kids, so we just feel the pressure faster than other people.
Yeah.
So I think for us, what we had to decide is what kind of culture do we want to create for our family.
Yeah.
And you have to exclude the noise, because there are a lot of people that will tell you, oh, you have to do this. Oh, you have to do that. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. And we set all these expectations up for ourselves instead of listening and talking to our spouse and saying what's right for our family, and not worrying about what's right for another family, because it's going to look different there. Yeah. So once you figure out what's right for your family, then you can say no to that and no to that, but you can say hell yes to that.
Yes.
And so I think that's how you have the time. And you don't apologize anymore. Like now when I can't go to something, I'll say, I'm so grateful that you asked, but we're unable to be there.
Ooh, that's great.
Before I would say, well, we've got this wedding and then I've got this. I felt like I had to explain myself.
Yeah,
you don't have to explain yourself.
Or I feel like often if you don't have this guilty, I'm way too busy emotion, I feel guilty about not feeling guilty about, like if I don't have something to do and I just don't want to go to it.
Sometimes we say no. And we don't have anything on the calendar.
It's just
so because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Yes.
And I don't feel guilty about that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing like when we tell our priests, are you scheduling time to pray? Like, and then a parishioner comes to you and says, I really need to talk to you, Father. And you're like, I can't feed you if I don't feed myself.
Yes,
gas mask, or the oxygen mask, gas mask.
The oxygen mask on the airplane.
Yes.
Put it on yourself first before others. Yeah.
Same thing for your family. You have to feed your family before you can serve other people.
Yeah.
And so when we fed our family and when we started saying no to some things, then when a crisis came up or something really awesome came up, then we could go all in.
Yeah.
And people always say, how do you do that, Kathryn? I'm like, you say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't apologize, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because when you say yes, people know that you mean it.
Yeah.
Like you're fully there for them.
I love this whole idea of it almost sounds like you're saying, wait until there are things that you're not going to say, okay, we'll do it, but like, hell yes, we're going to do this.
Yes,
like we need to be doing this.
Yes.
That's awesome. How
that's the kind of life God wants us to live. He doesn't want to, I guess.
Yeah.
He wants you to be like, I'm sure, totally sure that he's up there saying, I hope she says hell yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes I think we get caught up, especially as parents, that we need to be sacrificing a lot for our kids. So if we're not super stretched very, very thin for our kids, then somehow we judge ourselves. Like we judge, man, I'm not doing a good enough job as a parent, or I'm not, yeah, my kid's not going to go down this track and go to a really good college and do the thing that everyone's saying we probably should do.
But what are we teaching our kids when we do that?
Yeah,
We're teaching
exactly.
them
Yeah.
that their life is not their own.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to teach them that their life is their own and it's for God and what does he want them to do. And the only way to do that is to be in prayerful silence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to have. So for Lent this year, we did something crazy. Normally we give up eating out, but this year we decided to give up all screens.
Oh, wow.
And not make other people work on Sundays.
Not make other people. Okay,
can't go get gas.
Gotcha.
Can't go to the grocery store.
Gotcha.
Can't go to Home Depot for that home improvement project, whatever. So what the crazy thing that happened is that Sundays felt like they lasted forever.
That's cool.
And before they felt like they were that fast.
Like over. Wow, that's really cool.
So when you remove, and I'm not saying screens are bad. I mean, hello, I'm on Instagram and all that other stuff. But like when you remove that, so what that allowed was silence.
Open
like
time, yeah.
Games, engagement, like time to read a book,
Yeah.
time to iron the clothes, whatever. But it was awesome.
It sounds so weird.
The kids don't think it was awesome. Scott and I thought it was really awesome.
Well, I'm realizing that I'm having to schedule in time for nothing. Because like you see me, look at this. This is ridiculous.
No, this is awesome.
I
You're like,
fill up
I don't
all my
have-
free time with this, right? But I do have.
But you love it.
Yeah, I do love it. But even though I love this, I have been recently trying to schedule in, and it feels weird to say it and to schedule it, but to schedule time where I give myself like nothing has to happen. No chores don't have to happen. This like I'm just gonna be in the house for 2 hours and no extra stuff, no chores, just like be here. And it's so funny, like the first couple times I did it, like the first 20 minutes, I was like, I should probably check my phone or like no one would mind if I looked somewhere else. But, I would have missed out on some conversation with one of my kids, or I would have just missed appreciating the trees around, it sounds dumb, the trees around our house, whereas before I was like not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you have any other advice for people who maybe struggle with that, like self-judgment? This surprised me as a parent is how much I judged myself as a parent, like how much judging how we compare as a family to other people, but even just judging how I compare to my parents, my own parents. I'd be like, well, my parents, they had us praying every day. They had us doing, and there's just this feeling of, the judgment, the self-judgment.
I think, so my mom always told me, so we lived in the Panhandle, we were close to the mountains, so we would go skiing on the weekends. And she would always say that you need to ski with people who are better than you. It's the only way you're going to get better. So I always say, like, you got to get yourself a skiing buddy, an accountability partner, like who's part of your tribe that's going to keep you accountable, but not just keep you accountable, but on the days that you're like, I suck at motherhood, who are you going to call?
Yeah.
I call Tanya.
Yeah.
And Tanya like talks me off the ledge. She's like, all right, Kathryn, you're better than what you think you are. And guess what? The same thing is going on at my house. She's got 4 kids, 2 of them are teenagers, and she gets it. Like she's in the season of life that we're in. And then I have another mom who's got a big and wide family like me. And I'm like, I can't do this. And she's like, yes, you can. So I'm grateful that I've allowed myself to develop authentic friendships with other women who I know are going to allow me to walk through those seasons that are really hard and those moments when I start to doubt myself and judge myself for how bad I am. The reality is that we're all sinners, but they kind of help show me, okay, so in this moment, you probably could have handled it differently. Yeah. But here's what we did, or you know what, but you did this and that was really awesome. Like don't judge the whole worth of your motherhood on that 4-minute interaction with your 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And also, don't get your validation from your
from your 13-year-old, right?
That's a little pro tip
there. Yeah.
You got to stay like, don't be the teenager with them. But that knowing that I have people that I can reach out to, that I know what I'm going through, has been how I weather the self-doubting moments.
Yeah.
Because your kid, like I always say, Scott will come home from work and he'll say, how was the day? I'm like, well, the employees gave me a bad performance review today. It's a bad day. So you have to recognize that they're pretty judgmental, Mom, you did this or whatever, but they're also honest because they know that no matter what, you're going to love them.
Oh yeah.
So there's
the best feedback.
There's some freedom in there and knowing that they're just going to tell you like it is. Like today I got open and honest feedback from our employees. It's a great conference that we had.
That's awesome.
That keeping me honest and then having good accountability partners.
So talk a little bit about, because I know, when did you start getting into kind of dabbling in freelance, or I guess maybe all these things probably are connected, but like blogging online and then the freelance graphic design and running your own business with that.
Yeah.
And then the book, and just talk to me about
crazy.
that. Yeah. Cause that always interests me. People who, I mean, obviously I love doing
Yeah.
this type of stuff. So it interests me how people get into that and that whole journey.
Sure. Well, I have 2 degrees in agriculture
Okay.
because that makes a lot of sense, right? That's not what you were expecting.
2
I was gonna
MRS
say.
degrees, right?
Yes.
That's what they said at Franciscan. They were
Yes.
like, "Oh, Danielle, you got your," because she did biology.
Nice.
She was like, "Yeah, my
no,
degree."
I actually
my
did.
MRS.
Like, I used my degrees. I had a job in ag communications.
Okay.
And loved it. And then after I had my oldest, then I started doing freelance graphic design. So I could
Nice.
stay at home, be his mom, and have the super creative outlet.
Yeah.
I've always been like an artist kind of stuff. I dig that kind of stuff.
But how do you go from like not like? Did you do graphic design when you were in college or something? Or
No. Well, in graduate school, yes, they gave
Okay.
me a Mac, and the department needed a newsletter, and they're like, "Here's the PageMaker manual."
Nice.
PageMaker,
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the PageMaker manual, and here's a Mac.
Just
we
do
need
it.
a newsletter in
Yeah.
a month, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So I taught myself, and then when I worked at National FFA, then I worked with all of our photographers and our graphic designers.
Gotcha.
So I kind of
Gotcha.
learned that world, and then so when I launched out on my own, and it really was just doing work for a couple of friends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
for hardly any money or no money. And then started doing graphic design. And then I started this blog at the encouragement of one of my friends. She's like, "Oh, you should do that. Everyone's doing it." I was like, "Okay, sure, that sounds good." So
Yeah.
I started blogging, and then Luke was born about a year and a half after I started blogging.
Wow.
So then it became
Like an
this
outlet.
cathartic release.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know, like more people besides my mom and my husband were reading the blog. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is weird. And then I actually wrote a post about Johnny Manziel, so Johnny Football. My oldest had an interaction with him, and Johnny ended up reading it and tweeting it out, and my site crashed.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
That's awesome.
So like went viral.
Your site crashed.
Yeah, it did.
That's hilarious.
It was fun.
That's so hilarious.
That was my one proud moment. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know, like I've always loved to write.
Yeah.
And Blessed Is She reached out, so started writing for them.
Shout out to Jenna, the OG. I freaking love Jenna. Yeah.
You know,
I'm one of the biggest male fans of
You're a
Blessed Is She.
good fan, girl.
Because like way back, like I watched them take off as I was trying to do weird stuff online too. She did a way better job with it, but it was like I was looking around at who else is doing this type of thing. And then that's when I found Blessed Is She, and almost every decision they made, I was like, yes, that is the right decision. That is what they should be doing.
Yeah.
So I've just loved watching it
so
explode.
from the very beginning, when we got paid nothing, I mean,
Yeah.
like we were all doing it because we loved
Yeah.
Jesus and Jenna.
Yeah.
And that really, for me, was a big turning point. Like I really loved writing about, even though I've been writing about my faith, I'd never really written it for like a huge audience like
Yeah.
that. And then I got involved with Take Up and Read. And so all those were all encouraging women to go back to the Bible, which was like my people.
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
that's what I grew up
That's
doing.
awesome.
And
And you're like, this is great. And they're Catholic.
I
This is
know,
a
it's like,
Catholic
this
thing.
is awesome.
This is amazing.
So started doing all that. And then, I guess I just fell into all that. I mean,
Yeah.
no one goes, or I guess you shouldn't like go into like the Catholic world of like, I'm going to be a Catholic speaker. I lived some life, and we lived through some really hard stuff, and I started writing about it, and I've always loved to write. And then Ave called, and
That's
There we
awesome.
are.
So how long have you been working on this book? Is this just a lot of the blogs, and also just, are you that way where, my wife jokes that I'm always writing like 3 books, even though I'm not publishing the books. It's like, I'm always working on, it's like all these little things. It's always, I mean, what's been the process? Did they approach you and you're like, okay, yeah, I think I've kind of been working on this.
well, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I really wanted to write a book, and I was hustling, and I was trying to make it happen, and nothing was happening. And finally I just said, whatever.
Yeah.
And I shelved it, pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah.
Shelved it and was like, that's it. And then about 5 months later, 3 parishes in Dallas
Mm-hmm.
called and said, hey. And I was in an ice storm in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and I get this email, and these 2 publishers reached out, hey, Kathryn, what do you think? I'm like, what in the world? And that's when I realized that I wanted it for the right reason.
Yeah. Did you already have like an outline or something?
No.
No? Oh, wow.
I'm like,
you just had an idea?
So here's what I'm like, okay, so what do you want me to write about? And they were like,
You're supposed
so
to.
that's, now it's your turn. And so, yeah, then I said, then you have to do some soul searching. Cause like when you write a book, you basically write the book before you write the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that took a little time and adoration. But once I figured it out, I guess it took me about 9 weeks.
Yeah.
I wrote it 9 weeks.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I would just take a chapter and I would go grab some sweet tea.
Yeah.
And then I would just bang out 3,000 or 4,000 words.
That's
and then
cool.
Set it aside and write in nap time or bedtime.
That's really
or
cool.
Whatever.
So what advice would you give people who are thinking, especially like the whole graphic design stuff and just getting, because that seemed like it was just really natural and it just kind of started happening. But there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out extra ways to either make income or to share their gifts or things that they're interested in. And maybe people who haven't gotten into client work yet, but are just like, how do I, or maybe a lot of times what happens is you get one or two friends saying, hey, could you just make this thing? You know, I'll pay you $100 to do this thing. But like, are you still doing the graphic design stuff on the side? Wow.
I am. So I work primarily with Catholic campus ministry programs.
Okay, nice.
So that's kind of how I got started. I'll pass along some advice. Actually, another graphic designer gave me, and I felt like it's been really good advice. She said, you need to find your niche. Like, so Catholic campus ministry newsletter design is pretty specific. And that's what I do. So some of them just do it online, and then some of them actually print it. So I work with printers for them. But I loved designing, and I love designing for Jesus. So I worked with a few religious orders. I work with Catholic schools, and my designs are pretty distinctive in that they're usually really Catholic. Like when you open it up, you're like, oh, I wonder what school this is. Oh, that's a Catholic school. Like I try to make the imagery look like that. So, you know, I think you have to, if you're going to spend the time doing it, I mean, I think you have to pursue what you're good at, but you also have to pursue what you love and what Jesus wants for you. Because if you're just doing it as a side gig to hustle to make money, that's one thing, right? Like I recognize that some people have to have a job because they got to pay the bills. I always say, like, what's the one thing that you do on the side, like when no one's telling you what to do? Like, what's the one thing that you dig or that you love? And then start to find a way to, how can I glorify God through this? And I believe that if it's something that's meant to build up the kingdom and it's something that he really wants you to do, that he's going to open the doors, and he'll open them when he's ready for you. But I mean, none of this was ever on my radar 10 years ago. And so that's all part of that. Hey, Jesus, here I am. What do you want me to do? So I don't know what life is going to look like in 5 or 10 years, but I know that right now it's really great. That doesn't mean that there aren't hard things happening, but this is what he wants from me right now. So this is what we're going to do.
A lot of times I tell people who are kind of unsure, because man, before
you got to try sometimes.
You have to just do it. You just have to just start doing it,
and don't get hung up on the perfection part.
Exactly. I probably debated starting a blog for a year and a half. Debated starting it, and like went back and forth, and probably made my wife so upset at how much. And I wish I could have gone back and said, look, like, you know, when you first start writing on the internet, you're afraid that this one blog article is going to be you. Like, people will define you for the rest of your life, and you don't have the context of, like, you're going to write thousands of words online. No one's going to remember, and then you're trying to get people to write it. Like, whereas before you're like, everyone's going to read it. Oh shoot. Sorry.
That's all right.
Beforehand, you're like, everyone's going to read this. Like, this better be perfect. And then later you like publish it. You're like, no one's reading this.
Or the thing that you spent
hours on. Yeah.
So that Johnny Manziel post that I banged out, 10 minutes. Scott was like, hey, Kathryn, we're watching Netflix. It's like, hold on. And I'm like banging it out. And I'm like, all right. And the next morning I wake up, 100,000 views. I was like, well, all right.
Should have spent a little more time.
Maybe I should have proofread that.
No, I had the same thing. I would spend weeks writing these long blog articles, and then we went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I was like just admiring the hipster culture, and I just had this dumb idea. I was like, man, like Catholics would be like the ultimate hipsters. And then I wrote this article, like, all hipsters eventually become Catholic, and it like blew up and scared the crap out of me. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, way back in the day. Yeah. So, anyways, that's cool. Yeah,
you just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, and just start doing it. Just start doing something.
Cut bait.
Yeah. Well, I think we have a bunch of questions that we wanted to get to. Are you ready for these questions?
Yeah, bring it.
These are audience submitted questions. Some people we probably both know, and maybe some people we don't. Let's see, what should we do first? Okay, this is from View from the Narthex. Do you know View from the Narthex? Where is your favorite place to get some barbecue locally, or your favorite place in all of Texas?
Oh, I knew someone was going to ask me that. In all of Texas, well, hands down, Franklin's in Austin.
Okay.
It's worth the wait. You got to get in line at like 6 a.m., but it's totally worth it.
I'll put this in the show notes. This is why I'm taking notes.
And then I'm a fan because the people that own it are Aggies, but Styles Switch in Austin. And every Friday they have a new menu item for the lunch menu.
Ooh.
So if you're wanting to do something, it's fantastic. Oh man, there's so many. Truth Barbecue in Brenham is outstanding. They were number 2 on our list.
And all these are on your website,
I'm just
right?
like, there's so many, you know.
All the places you went to, you did kind of talk about on your website, or you have a place
we went to all 50, and then they've actually since added another 10. So we've been to 4 of those 10.
That's cool.
So yes, we ranked our like what our top 10 were, and then I also said like who had the best side, who had the best sweet tea.
That's cool.
These are important things for people to know. So Dallas, actually Hutchins up in McKinney, fantastic, and then Pecan Lodge and Heim are both.
That's awesome.
Outstanding.
Okay.
So hopefully
do you hear that?
Gives you a few places.
Yeah. So get to. I mean, get to one of those places.
Just if you go to Texas Monthly and put top 50, they'll put them all in there, and then you can just drive 2,000 miles. Just go to all the places.
And just do it.
Yeah.
We need to have you do that again, but then have someone just follow you around with a camera and just do your own YouTube channel.
Taste test.
Johnny, who's on the show sometimes, you're going to take care of that.
So our motto is no barbecue is better than bad barbecue.
What? Wait.
Did you hear that? Did you make that?
I don't know if my brain.
No barbecue.
is
Is better than bad barbecue.
Real? Oh,
it's better to have no barbecue than bad barbecue.
Wow.
Trust me, there's some really bad barbecue out there.
Okay. All right. Are you willing to say?
I would not want to. But privately, once we turn off the microphones,
one-on-one,
I will tell you.
Just DM her if you want to know
DM me.
where to stay away from. Okay, this is Kylie B. Diley. I don't know if I'm doing my best. I've always wanted to move to Texas. What are some areas with strong Catholic communities? This is a good one.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question. And we should. I mean, like Munster. Munster's got a strong Catholic community. We've been talking about Munster. I think my wife and Kathryn's husband are related.
This is the only podcast that Munster is going to be on the podcast. So
We've made it big.
Munster are going to flood your.
All the people. If you're watching or listening and you're from Munster, comment somewhere. Hey, I'm from Munster. Leave our town alone. Don't make fun of us. We're great.
Munster.
No, Munster's great. Great cheese out there. Because that's Catholic community.
That is,
I don't know if that's a very accessible Catholic. Like, I don't know that if you move.
Probably Catholic culture, I would say San Antonio.
Okay.
Because there's the missions. Just the city in and of itself has a beautiful history and Catholic culture. I know that there are some great parishes in San Antonio. They put on a massive women's conference in San Antonio. But I think people believe that excellent Catholic communities exist where other places where they don't live. When in reality, if you're unhappy with your parish, well, then get your butt up there and do something about it. Like instead of just changing parishes, and I recognize sometimes there's a legitimate reason, but instead of just changing parishes and going to the other Catholic community, why don't you build one where you are?
Oh yeah. And as someone who works at a parish, we definitely could use the help of people that
they
are
always
like,
need somebody to do something.
And like families that, I mean, I wish more families would come to me and say, hey, we want to build really awesome, strong community here. What could we do?
Yeah.
And man, we would shower you with resources like, yeah, let's do this. Like, you want to have a party at your house once a month and it be some young adult thing. Like, let's do it, you know?
Or we believe that, like, we live in Austin. So typically in Texas, like that's a little bit more liberal part of Texas than other places, but it can't possibly be good Catholic community there. And I'm thinking, well, why not?
Yeah.
Why can't you? So great Catholic communities can exist anywhere, but we are definitely willing to let you come to Texas. I just say maybe don't move to Austin because there are a bazillion people there right now. So maybe just suburb or something.
How have you found that balance between family time and then opening your home for community like that? Or how have you guys experienced community? Is it at events at church? Is it at your house? What's that been like?
Well, we have a really good Catholic school community, so we've been really grateful for that. And I think it's because we really put a lot into it.
Yeah.
I'd say a fair amount of our neighbors are Catholic. They're like closet Catholics. I'm like, oh, I just saw you at like Ash Wednesday Mass.
Yeah.
Like now I know who you are.
Yeah. Something that's been.
I think there's been some events like you know, there's a men's and women's conference, or I'll see someone somewhere and I'm like, wait a second, saw you at church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so then you kind of begin to develop, and I think a lot of it just has revolved around our kids. Like we'll find community that way, and so we're always on the lookout for finding new pockets.
One thing that was really great for us was we tried doing the thing where like, okay, we'll just meet, because we've moved around, so we've had to meet people, and so we just go up to people after Mass and just be like, hey, you guys look interesting, like, do you want to have dinner? But then it started becoming like, okay, well, when are we going to schedule dinner, and when, you know, and schedules and stuff like that. So we just started doing, like, in the summer, we try to do like 8 to 10 Sundays in a row where we just knew we were going to have brunch and it was going to be open to anyone who showed up. And so, so then we had something to invite people to. And if you couldn't come, then that's fine. And we just slowly keep adding people in a Facebook group and just have something like, hey, just let everyone know it's going to be like, we're going to be a mess and we're going to just like eat outside.
Just come as you are.
Yeah. And it's just like like stay or leave whenever you want. And we just had that like morning.
I love that.
And that helped a lot. We met a lot of, and then we helped other people meet each other.
Well, because people think in order to do something in your house, it has to take massive planning. Your house has to be big enough or perfect or clean enough or whatever. And I always tell people just like Clorox wipe the toilets and you're good.
Yeah. That's
Really?
exactly. That's probably what we did today. Yeah. We just Clorox wipe, make sure everyone's wearing clothes. Clorox wipe,
or not,
that's it.
just underwear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're under 5.
And it's funny too, because a lot of people, as we were doing it at first, were like, oh, wait, do we have to bring stuff? Do we have to? And we're like, no literally, we're going to have a bunch of pancakes and we're going to let everyone, and we're just going to be around each other. And that was really great. Okay. Mary Lenneberg.
Yeah.
Is that how you say your last name? First she said, you're awesome. Like Texas Big Awesome. She's very excited for your upcoming book. And then she also said best sweet tea recipe. Do you have that off the top of your head?
Well, you just have to brew sweet. I mean,
do you make simple syrup? Do you do like the whole simple syrup boil?
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, it's hard.
People need sweet tea in my house. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, in an ideal world, yes.
Yeah.
And in an ideal world, I would brew it over the stove.
Yeah.
But we have to do it in the microwave.
Yeah.
So we brew it in the microwave. And then the key to sweet tea,
Okay.
you got to put the sugar in the tea when it's hot so that it dissolves.
Yes. Yeah. That's
because this whole like, we'll go to a restaurant. Well, we don't have sweet tea, but here's a sugar packet. I'm like, it's cold.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Well, and that's the whole trick. That's if you get it to boiling, then you can get more. You can get more sugar dissolved into the liquid than it could at a normal temperature.
So you already know the recipe.
Yes, you make a super saturated solution there.
Yeah.
Okay. What else we got here? We have. Oh, she said that it went more than once. This is Mare K Made.
Okay.
Mare K Made. Probably if you see their profile picture, you might recognize them. That's on Instagram. I hear people's usernames and I'm like, but then if I see the thing, I'm like, okay. But she said not accused. She just wanted to say, she wanted to comment that your Instagram is giving her hope for the future, that little kids really do turn into big kids.
Aww. I feel honored that I'm still a little kid. I like that. Yeah.
I think she meant your kids.
My kids.
Like your kids are turning. Okay,
but that's awesome that she thinks my kids are great.
Based on that or related to that, Christy Vaughn from Every Sacred Sunday, yes. She's amazing too. She's awesome. I met her in person and she is hilarious.
I haven't met her in person.
She's so hilarious. She's delightful.
But I've met someone in person that she wants to meet.
Oh, okay. So you can hold
Dennis.
Oh, okay. Who's that?
So he was one, maybe in January, there was a picture of a priest like holding her book at DCYC.
Oh, okay.
He's a Holy Cross priest. He's actually getting ready to be like the associate director of vocations for Holy Cross.
We're going to have to get them in touch. We're going to get them connected.
Yeah.
Christy, we're going to make your,
see
on the show, we make dreams come true, Christy, and we're going to make your dream come true.
Every day.
But she said, what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self? That's a tough one.
You should have given me a heads up on that.
I'll think about it too.
Advice to my younger self. You are stronger than you think you are.
Do you think your younger self would receive that? That's what I always think when this younger advice.
I think that at a young age, I felt like I could only be strong when I was wiser and older. Like when I had the tools to be stronger, but that people discounted me because I was younger or whatever. But I've seen some people who are really young go through some really hard stuff. Yeah. And I think I wish someone would have told me that.
Do you have siblings? Where are you in the lineup?
I have one.
Older?
Younger.
Interesting.
He's 7 years younger.
Okay. Interesting. I have a younger sister, 2 years younger.
Okay.
But sometimes
I was sort of like an only child for 7 years.
Okay.
And then he showed up. I was bitter. We're good. We're friends now. But
we're good now.
Yeah, we're good now.
I think I would maybe not similar, but I think I would just say like, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. What's that? Okay. There's a country song. I know you don't listen to country music,
no, not
but
really.
I know.
But I'm okay with like I proposed to my wife singing
George Strait.
Yeah. That was George Strait, right?
Check
I
yes
crossed my heart. No, I crossed my heart.
So Scott proposed to me. Check yes or no.
Is that George Strait
from
too though? Yeah, from Pure Country. And that's check or no. Wow. This is getting creepy. Okay.
I pay attention. But
well, I'm just saying all the connections, like
it's weird.
Your husband and my wife are related. and they got similar proposal situations. Yeah. Okay, we already did. Scott Whitaker said best barbecue in Texas, and we already
covered that.
Is that your husband?
That's my husband.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait, Scott. Wait, oh,
Do we know him?
I'm so dense.
It's okay.
Daily Divine Mercy, which you might know if they do.
Divine
Pray
Mercy
the
3.
Yep.
Yes.
What's your biggest secret for keeping everything so organized with 6 kids?
Compliance. So if things don't get put back where they're supposed to, I'm not like a drill sergeant, but you clean toilets in my house.
Okay, yeah. Oh, we do
That's
a lot
why
of
my
that.
toilets are really clean.
Yeah. Well, they're at the age right now when they're younger, cleaning things is like fun to them.
Well,
we have this whole
and also,
window washing kit that they love doing for hours. They'll wash all the windows 4 times.
Can they come to my house? I'll give you the
sure.
address. No, I think they've learned as they've gotten older, if they just follow the system, that it actually takes less time.
Yeah.
Like if you put this where it's supposed to go, or you always put your shoes in the same place, then you don't spend. Of course, now that I say that, it did take me 10 minutes to find the car keys this morning. So in an
We just won't
ideal
tell your
world-
kids about that.
Yeah. Now they know, but I just don't let them watch this.
Yeah. St. Andrew's Youth Ministry says, would you rather eat barbecued watermelon or have a barbecue that looks like a watermelon?
Barbecued. How would you even smoke a watermelon? It would
I have
just
no idea.
go up in flames. It's
That's
all water.
interesting. Yeah. How would you? I guess if you just didn't cut it and you just put it far enough and just let it smoke.
I would dip watermelon in barbecue sauce if that's what they're
Yeah.
asking. I would
That
do
actually pretty interesting. Please try that, someone.
I'll do that.
We already did sweet tea recipe. Sam Ford says best sweet tea recipe.
Actually, the best sweet tea in Texas barbecue wise is at the Granary. They make their own.
The Greenery.
The Granary. It's in San Antonio.
Greenery or Granary?
Granary.
Okay. I'm still getting used to.
Granary.
Okay.
The Granary.
In where?
In San Antonio.
San Antonio. Okay.
Best sweet tea. In fact, I went back up to the guy, and I'm sure he thought, crazy lady on aisle 4. But I was like, that is the best sweet tea I've ever had. He's like, really? He goes, he was serious. He's like, I take great pride in that.
Wow.
And I said, well, I can tell.
You should. Wow.
Because it was great.
That's awesome. Delaney.Simone. Simon? What is this? Simone? S-I-M. Simone says Catholic mental health thoughts or experiences.
Maybe meaning like.
There's an episode we did with Dr. Gregory Bottaro,
Okay.
which I would recommend just off the bat. And he wrote a book called Catholic Mindfulness.
Okay.
And he has some really good things in there about mental health and just
Well, I think it's okay to encourage people to go get professional help.
Yes, 100%.
Like,
yeah.
I think in Christian circles,
There's a
people
stigma.
believe, yes, that if you're clearly not praying enough, or you're not going to church enough, or you're not holy enough, if you can't get yourself out of this ditch that you're in.
Yeah.
But hello, like when you get cancer, you don't try to fix it on your own.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you got wisdom teeth in your head. You don't try to extract those from the pliers in the garage. So I think that it's okay to,
Yeah.
there's no stigma in my world. I
No,
don't
yeah.
know why it exists, but it's okay.
I think sometimes it's
You're not weak.
Yeah, and it's kind of some of the hesitancy too. And this was my personal hesitancy, was that it was going to kind of be like chiropractic, where it's like, okay, you're going. How long do you have to keep going? And you have to, like, at what point are you going to stop going? At what point, like, it seems like you're just going and this person's telling you to keep coming back to them.
Right.
And what really changed for me and my wife was saying, no, actually, this is kind of nice, because this is an hour we set aside at this specific time of month. And sometimes it was weekly, sometimes it was once a month.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk through us and like work on us and have a third party who is qualified to not take sides and able to talk through. And shout out to Dave McClough. I've talked about him a lot, and he's with Catholic Counselors. I think I'll put a link, but he's just been so great, and he's Catholic. And so he understands where we're coming from, but he's also trained and seen everything, all spectrums of marriages and people. And so it was just huge. So I would just really encourage, who's that? Simone. Just to try it. In fact, actually, the priest that prepared us for marriage, he forced us to go do one marriage counseling session, and we were like, "Is there something wrong? Like, what are we?"
And it's okay to go, even if you're if you believe that you're completely healthy.
Yes,
That's okay.
In fact, Dave McClough, I'm owed like affiliate sales or something, because I've convinced so many people. I've convinced so many people to do it as an anniversary gift. And to tell their spouse, not like, I think we're broken, but to tell your spouse, like, I value us. Yeah. And I want to invest in our marriage, and I want to invest in some time
I'd like
spent.
to keep looking at you. In
Yeah.
30 years,
Yes,
right?
exactly. What was I going to say before that? Anyways, I forget what I was going to say. Something about encouraging people. Oh, encouraging people just to try it. Oh, the priest, he made us do it just so that we could get over that stigma. He's like, no, I want you to just have the experience that it's okay, that nothing bad happens, that you go and talk to this person. And it actually was pretty positive.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Okay. Well, I think we're coming to the end here.
All right.
Are there any last things that you want to shout out, or how can people support? People should definitely pre-order this book.
Yeah. So you can go to Amazon.
When does it come out?
August 30th.
August 30th. Okay. The book's coming out.
So you can go to Amazon. You can go to Ave Maria Press.
People should buy 2. They should pre-order 2 because I think they should give one away or read one with someone else, another mom or another. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You said something interesting, either on the Amazon or somewhere, where you said you were writing this with more than just Catholics in mind.
Yes.
And I feel similarly with a lot of the stuff I create. So maybe just real quick, if you want to talk about that.
Well, I mean, I grew up Protestant.
Yeah.
Huge friend base of mine is Protestant. In fact, some of them are agnostic at best.
Yeah.
And so when I was writing the book, I actually sent it to a few friends of mine who were not Catholic.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to read this and I want you to give me your honest and candid feedback.
Yeah.
Do you feel judged, or do you feel ostracized, or do you feel like this book isn't for you?
Yeah.
And they gave me some really good feedback. It was very candid, but it was also really good. In fact, one of them was my journalism teacher from high school.
That's amazing.
I told her,
did you tweak it a little bit, like based on the feedback?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Not
significantly.
No, but I thought, the words that I chose there could be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's why I really focused on universal themes, and I stayed with like my story. Like, how did that affect me? And then what lessons did I learn that I think may be helpful for you? But I envisioned specific people sitting at the table as I was writing a chapter.
That's awesome.
And how can I want to talk to you. I want to share this dialogue with you, and let's talk about it. And so it would have not, excuse me, that sounds terrible.
Topo Chico, miraculous water, the miracle water. I'll open another one here.
Okay,
as we're coming to a close, I'll just pop open.
That's a great way to do a podcast. We're like, and done. I wouldn't have been authentically me if I didn't include the people in my life who shaped me.
Yeah.
And I felt very strongly that I wanted people to see how Jesus worked in my life, not how Jesus worked in Kathryn's life because she's Catholic now, but how did he work in her life, and could he work in mine? Yeah. Because if people walk away from that book thinking more about me than they do Jesus, that I did it wrong. Like I want them to be inspired to have a better, more authentic relationship with Jesus. And last time I checked, he's the same guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt very strongly about that.
I have so much respect for that, because I think, I grew up reading so many Catholic books and really like in the bubble. And so to be able to I really do have, I think, there's a place for that, and we need to be able to do that and come together and talk directly to our Catholic brothers and sisters. But I think to be able to acknowledge that other people are gonna read it or listen, I think we could get better as a church at doing that. And I think you got so much respect for me. I read
Jewish authors and plenty of non-denominational Christian authors. So why would that not be?
Exactly.
I think I may be the only Catholic book that has cowboy boots on it.
And are those your cowboy boots? Because they look.
On.
So is this a picture that you sent them?
My sorority sister took that picture. So
that's
it
awesome.
means even more. So that's actually me. Yeah.
That's really cool. Look at that. For those of you who are only listening, shame on you. Look at watch the video for that.
That was very graceful, right? Yeah.
That was extremely graceful. Okay, that was great.
So yes, that's really
cool.
I wanted it to be for all the people.
I have a lot of respect for that. All right, so everyone should buy. If you're listening right now, you should pre-order 2 books. Yes. You already got that. Maybe 4. And just gift them. August 30th. Are you doing anything special? Are you doing any? You mentioned something on the website about book tour or anything.
I am.
Are you going to give away a bunch of barbecue to people or what?
We have some really we have some really fun things.
As much as you're allowed to say.
Yeah, I'm under contract.
Yeah, no. You're probably not allowed to share everything, right?
We're nailing down details. So when I say it, I want it to be legit.
This will come out the 29th of April.
Of August.
This episode.
Oh, this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Yes. So, yes, there's definitely going to be some things I'm going to be hitting, a lot of places in Texas.
Cool. Where else can people find you? On Instagram, right?
Whitaker96 on Instagram.
And your website is called?
teamwhitaker.org.
Teamwhitaker.org.
That's 1 T.
And it's WHITAKER.
There
you go.
It's a little twang. I know. See, the benefit of watching Instagram is that you get to hear the twang. The blog, you just get to read.
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
Exciting.
This is great.
But yes.
Are you going to start a podcast? I convince everyone in my life to start podcasts.
Scott and I've talked about it. I don't know.
Oh, you and your husband would be so great.
We thought about doing
That'd be so cool.
We'll see.
Your husband's hilarious. He's funny.
He is funny.
He's really entertaining.
That's why I married him.
Yeah.
It's awesome. That's
Yeah.
why we have 6 kids.
I think you guys would have a really, you should just do like you know, this
Okay,
is
so
what I
you-
tell
okay,
people.
okay, let's go.
I say,
Let's hear it.
I say, don't think you're going to have to do it for the rest of your life. Just get some of the equipment and just say, we're just going to do 5 episodes about this book. And just like you and your husband, if anything,
I should take the advice that we talked about, 10 minutes ago?
yeah,
Just
do it.
Fisher cut
and
bait,
if anything,
Kathryn.
and this is what I tell Danielle, my wife, I say, if anything, like our kids will love this 10 years from now to listen to this, right? Even if like no one listens, it's like
good
10 years
advice.
from now, 20 years from now, your grandkids will be like,
So I come here for an interview and I'll leave starting a
you
podcast.
leave with a podcast. That's most
is that your-
most people's experience.
That's your mission.
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of my
I like
mission.
that.
Yeah.
That's a good mission. That's cool.
Well, thanks. Anything else you want to say to anyone? Thanks for being on. I have
No,
no
it was-
grace. I'm still trying to figure out graceful ways to end the podcast. But
It was awesome. No,
Yeah.
and thank you. I should say, y'all, Edmund, I sent him a direct message on Instagram, like basically invited myself on the show. And he's like, you should come. And I was like, oh, by the way, and I'm going to have my whole family. And he's like, awesome.
yeah, let's do
So
it.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that what you're doing is awesome and it is needed and it is important. So keep doing it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for listening. Go order her book right now. Live Big, Love Bigger. Talk to you later. Bye.